Two men are behind bars following the fatal shooting of a 30-year-old man at a nightclub. At just before 2 a.m. on Saturday the 9th of September, off-duty police officers were working security at the park on Calder at 2325 Calder Avenue in Beaumont, Texas, when they heard shots fired in the alley on the east side of the club. Authorities said a large crowd was gathered at the club when the shooting happened. The officers at the club called for backup and found 30-year-old Leroy Smith of Beaumont deceased in the alley from multiple gunshot wounds. Witnesses spotted possible suspects that left the area in a black vehicle. Police spotted a black vehicle about 7 blocks west of the club near Calder Avenue and Interstate 10, but they tried to perform a traffic stop, but the vehicle picked up speed and kept going. After a brief pursuit, the driver, 39-year-old Horace Peterson of Houston, pulled into a parking lot, where a passenger jumped out and fled on foot. Officers gave chase and caught the passenger, identified as 21-year-old Augustus Smith Jr. of Houston, and found evidence that linked him to the shooting. Both men were arrested and taken into the police station for questioning. August is charged with murder and is held at the Jefferson County Jail on a $995,000 bond. Horace was charged with evading in a motor vehicle with a previous conviction, and he's held at the Jefferson County Jail on a $50,000 bond. The motive of the shooting is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. 4th grade teacher 38-year-old Alyssa McCommon is behind bars for raping a 12-year-old boy. Alyssa taught English language arts and social studies at Charter Academy in Covington, Tennessee. Authorities said that Alyssa, a mother of 2, befriended several juveniles at the school, beginning with video games and social media apps, leading to her sending inappropriate photos and requesting sexual relations with the victims. On the morning of the 24th of August, police launched an investigation after a parent raised allegations of misconduct by the teacher. Alyssa was immediately suspended without pay by Tipton County Schools. Investigators said that Alyssa admitted to communicating inappropriately with former students, and there was no indication that there was activity that took place on the school campus. The incident with the 12-year-old reportedly took place at Alyssa's home. On the morning of the 8th of September, Alyssa was arrested and charged with rape of a child. She's held at the Tipton County Jail on a $25,000 bond. The investigation into the matter continues. 40-year-old Eric Adrian Blanco is behind bars after fatally beating his girlfriend's 14-month-old daughter Rivelyn Van Norman in July. At 9:23 p.m. on Thursday the 6th of July, authorities responded to a home in the 400 block of 3rd Street Northeast in Little Falls, Minnesota after Rivelyn's mother Raylan Scrotch called 911 to report her daughter was choking on vomit and was not breathing. When officers arrived on scene, they found an unresponsive infant with marks on her face and neck. They performed life-saving measures on the girl until medics arrived and rushed the baby to St. Gabriel's Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. An autopsy revealed the infant suffered significant blunt head trauma, including skull fractures. She had scrapes to her neck, chest, abdomen and inside her lower lip consistent with pressure on her face and asphyxia injury. Bruises were found behind her ears and on her face. Authorities said there was nothing to suggest that the majority of the injuries were several days old and were more consistent with the acute injury within minutes to hours. It was determined that the baby died due to multiple head and neck injuries consistent with homicidal violence. Investigators said the baby and the mother had been temporarily staying with Eric, who police identified as the mother's boyfriend, for about a week. Raylan told investigators that prior to calling 911, she left her daughter in Eric's care while she made a brief trip to the liquor store. She said that when she returned, she found Rivelyn not breathing while Eric was trying to resuscitate her. Authorities said that when officers first arrived at Eric's home, Raylan was hysterical, screaming her daughter's name, whereas Eric was seen praying occasionally, but was otherwise unemotional. In an interview with detectives, Eric was unable to provide an explanation for the homicidal injuries that caused Rivelyn's death. Following an extensive investigation, on Wednesday the 6th of September, police arrested Eric and charged him with second-degree intentional murder. He's held at the Morrison County Jail on a $1 million bond. Eric has a criminal history which includes felony domestic assault in 2017, theft of a firearm or property valued at over $35,000 in 2016, receiving stolen property in 2014, assault with a dangerous weapon in 2014, disorderly conduct and obstruction in 2006, and assault causing great bodily harm in 2001 after beating a 1-year-old who suffered a skull fracture. If convicted, Eric faces up to 40 years in prison.